Hi, my name is Tina, also known as Blooming Knitter, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to do short rows using the simple wrap and turn technique. The goal here is to make one side of our work taller and longer than the other side, and we can do that simply by using short rows. I cast on this edge and I worked up my piece, and then I started wrapping stitches and worked up at an angle and continued to work back and forth here, and then I went back and picked up the wraps. And now I'm going to show you exactly how I did that. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is start wrapping our stitches and creating our short rows. And so I'm starting here with just a general swatch here, and you can see that both edges, the right edge and the left edge, are both the same length. But we're going to start doing some wrap stitches. Now your pattern will probably tell you how often you do wrap stitches on each row, but what I'm going to do on this demonstration is do my wraps 2 stitches apart. So we're going to start by just knitting across this row to the first wrap stitch that we want, because what we're going to try to do is have this edge be shorter than the right edge. So we will knit across to almost the end of our row. It may be different in your pattern, but I'm just trying to give you an idea of how the wrapping of the stitches works. Okay, so here we are almost at the end of our row, and I'm going to wrap the next stitch. And the way that I wrap the stitch is I slide it over. I keep my yarn in the back. I slide the stitch over to the right needle, as if just sliding it over. I'm not like as if to knit or anything like that. I'm going to wrap the yarn to the front, and then I'm going to slide that stitch back over, and then I'm going to put my yarn back to the back, and then I will flip my work and I will purl back on my row, because I am doing a stockinette stitch here for this sample. And I will purl all the way back across, and then I will be able to turn my work back to the front again. Okay, so now I'm ready to do my next row where I wrap another stitch. Now you might see here that when I put this flat, you will see that there's like this little bar around this stitch here. That is my wrap stitch. Now in this example, I'm going to wrap 2 stitches before that. So I will knit across to 2 stitches before that wrap stitch. And again, your pattern will tell you how many stitches. Sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's more, depending on what the reasoning is for the short rows. So we're going to knit across to where we are going to wrap that next stitch. So here we are where we're going to wrap that next stitch, and again, all we're going to do is we're going to slip the stitch over to the right needle. We're going to bring the yarn to the front. We're going to slip that stitch back over to the left needle, and then we're going to bring the yarn to the back. Now, this might be a little bit different if you are working in a garter stitch or something like that. But like if you're working in garter stitch and you're going to come back around and you're going to, when you turn your work, if you're going to knit, you would just keep the yarn in the back. But we are going to purl this row, so I'm going to bring it back and then purl it. And purl all the way across back to the beginning of the row. Okay, now I'm ready to go and do my next row. And as you can see already that this edge is staying the same length that it was when we first started, whereas this edge is growing because we are adding rows here, but we are not adding rows here. So again, I'm going to work across to where I need to pick up that where I need to wrap the next stitch. Now in this example, I am only wrapping stitches on the right side rows. You may have a situation where you need to wrap stitches on a wrong side row, such as in working a short row heel of a sock. If you need to find out how to do short row heels for a sock, you can check out my tutorial on that. Here is the next stitch we are going to wrap. I'm going to slide it over, wrap it around to the front, wrap the yarn to the front, slide the stitch back, and then move the stitch to the back. Now, one thing you do want to remember is you want to kind of keep that yarn a little bit snug around that stitch. You don't want to have a lot of extra give, because if you look, you probably can see that there's a bit of a gap. You might not be able to see it as much right now, but there is a little bit of a gap between those stitches where I've wrapped the stitch, and right next to it to the left there's a little bit of a gap. Here's the wrap stitch, and to the left of that there's a little bit of a gap. So you want to try and keep it a little bit snug, but not like strangling the stitch. So I will turn and I will purl back to the end. And again, I'm only doing wrap stitches on the right side row right now. But if you need to see how to do it for a short row heel, you can check out my short row heel tutorial. Okay, and here we are again, ready to start the next row, and you can still see that we are still increasing on this side, but not on this side. I'm going to go ahead and do a few more wraps and turns, so I have a few extra stitches here. Besides, I've done 3 here for you. I've showed you 3, but I'm going to do a few more rows so I can get a few more wrap stitches, and then I will come back and show you how to pick up those wraps. Okay, so now I have finished picking up I've finished wrapping my stitches, and you will see that this side is definitely a lot taller than this side. And by putting this on, all of the work on the cable, you can see what I was talking about, where I was talking about the gaps between the stitches where you've wrapped and turned. Okay, now we're going to pick up the wrap. Now, some patterns might tell you that after you've done your wrap, you just knit across the row and you don't do anything with the wrap at all, and you just knit across. In this case, I'm going to show you how to pick up the wrap and knit it together with the stitch that it's wrapped around, so that you can have a nice line for your short rows. And it's a really easy thing to do. And I will show you how not to do it also, because when I was doing this the first time I did wraps, I was not really sure exactly how to pick up the wrap, and because I do my short row heels a little bit differently than how the traditional way, because I don't like holes in my short row heels, I kind of had it in my head that this is how to pick up a wrap, and it was not really the right way. So the wrong way, I'm going to show you the wrong way first. The wrong way is to pick up the stitch here and put it on your needle like that. Okay, that's the wrong way. You don't want to do that. You want to keep that wrap kind of loose on around the stitch. Now, the reason why that's the wrong way is because you can't, if you knit this together like this, then you will still have that kind of bar across the stitch that it's knit with. So I'm going to take that off, and hopefully I won't lose my wrap. Okay. So now I've got my stitch that's wrapped and my the wrap that's around it. And the way that you do this is you just put your needle through both stitches, like the wrap is on the needle too. You just go under both stitches and knit them together. And then you're going to knit the next stitch. And again, you go under the wrap like you're going to knit the wrap, and under the stitch like you're going to knit them together, and then bring the stitch together, or bring the yarn through both of them at the same time. And what happens is that wrap kind of falls behind the stitch, and it kind of fills in the gap a little bit. And this works great with a thicker yarn, but I found that when I was doing it on my socks, it was not filling the gap enough, which is why I do my short row heels a little bit differently on my socks. And again, you're going to stick the needle in both stitches as if to knit them together, and knit them together. And then knit one, and then under both, knit them together. And it's that easy for short rows. If short rows have been holding you back, now you can honestly say that they're not that difficult. The short rows are great for where you need to do like bust darts and stuff like that. So now I've come to the end of my row, and now I will work back across just so that you can kind of see what it looks like. But right now, you can't really tell. I mean, you do see kind of a little bit of a line there, but if you're trying to get a bust dart or something like that, this is like the perfect thing. So I'm going to work a couple more rows just so you can see how it looks when it's all done, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now I have finished off the sample, and again, as you can see, this edge is a lot shorter than this edge, and you can see that just barely, I mean, there's just barely a line there, but you can definitely see where those short rows were done. But it kind of blends in so well that if you were doing it in a garment such as a bust dart, you're not going to see it all that much. And a bust dart is going to be along your side, so you're not going to really see it anyway. But there you have it. That is how you do short rows with this simple wrap and turn method. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you will check out my other tutorials at www.knittingblooms.com or on the YouTube channel, Blooming Knitter. Thanks so much for watching. Bye for now.
As always, thanks for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Please feel free to contact me with your comments or suggestions, as I am always trying to improve the show. You can find me on Ravelry, Instagram, and YouTube as Blooming Knitter. You can also find me on Plurk, Twitter, and Pinterest as Blooming Knitter, but I don't frequent those sites as often. I post show updates on Twitter and Facebook, and sometimes to Google Plus and Plurk. I am Miss Aerobics on MyFitnessPal and Fitbit. You can always find all the old episodes as well as links to the tutorials on the blog at www.knittingblooms.com. And you can also follow the show on Facebook. You can email me at knittingblooms@gmail.com, and show notes can be found at knittingblooms.com.